track is a pretty big medley, and I think it speaks to sort of like, I mean, Christmas music, like there's a lot of holiday music.
Yeah.
Um, so like you had a lot to choose from. What was kind of the process for choosing what you were going to do for the album?
Yeah. So basically, I think last um, September or even before then, I had this idea like that I wanted to put together a Christmas album, but I really wanted it to sound like a traditional Irish music album. So the first track, Hark the Herald Angels Sing,
Yeah.
that is a hornpipe, so I swung it like a hornpipe and put some triplets and kind of ornamentation in to reflect a hornpipe.
Mm.
And it could be treated as other tune types, but that's the kind of the main type that I chose for that one.
Hmm.
And then Patapan is one of my favorites, and I chose that to be a reel. And that one seems to be one that people don't really know much about, Patapan, but it's such a beautiful melody. So I went full drive into a reel there, and then
I felt like,
halls.
especially hearing you play it, it felt like, this was written for pennywhistle. Like this is,
Yeah.
it feels very at home there.
Oh, exactly. And I think that's why I enjoy playing it so much, because it feels really fun to play. But yeah, you're totally right. Like it feels so much like a whistle tune. And same with Deck the Halls as well. That one is very fun to play as a reel and full blast, just like driving energy. Ding Dong Merrily on High is probably my number one favorite of that set to play on the whistle, because it's so playful and fun and just provides all these great opportunities for variations. Well, all the tunes do. I love variations. Just coming up with them is part of the fun. But yeah, Ding Dong Merrily on High is a really enjoyable Christmas melody to play as kind of a trad tune as a reel. Had this idea for a couple years, I think, just in the back of my head, and I was like, I'm gonna make it happen. And so basically, like, I grew up listening to Christmas music, and we have a 51 CD player, so 51 CDs could be put into it, and this is back in California.
Yeah.
So I grew up with that, and we would fill the entire thing with Christmas music. So basically, like a whole variety of music, and there were a couple CDs that were Celtic, like, not just strictly Irish traditional sounding.
Sure.
But they didn't quite do it for me. So I was like, I really want it to sound very traditional, or just like, have that kind of session vibe to it. So basically I kind of reflected on some of the more popular carols. And of course, this is an instrumental album. So I was like, how can I make it exciting and interesting while it's still being, instrumental, no words at all. So I kind of chose some that were my favorites from over the years, but also choosing the pieces was a fun challenge, because in traditional Irish music, we only have so many different types of tunes, like jigs, reels, polkas, hornpipes, waltzes, all that stuff.
Sure,
So some of them had to be modified in a way to fit the reel feel, or a jig feel, or hornpipe.
Hmm.
So yeah, hornpipe going into 3 reels, and that's that first set there. So just wanted
Yeah.
to not hang around each tune too long, and I changed it up so many times in less than 4 minutes. So
Yeah, yeah, it feels like a real whirlwind. It's a lot of fun. I mean, like, especially the first time listening. I don't know if this is just a weird thing that I do, but I like to just listen to albums without looking at the track names at least the first
ah yeah.
time, maybe a first couple times. So it's kind of like this. Just it's like, what is going to be around the next corner? You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
it's a lot of fun that way.
Oh
And
yes.
it seems to be too like it seemed kind of like a strong intro to the album. I mean, you mentioned that like of course any of these melodies, the songs that they go with it, like we might sing 3 or 4 verses, and because the words change, like that's kind of what changes if you're singing along or if you're listening to a choir do it or
Mhm.
something. But so you're handling the challenge very well. Where like I don't mean to sound like judgmental or mean or something like that, right? But I've been sitting in the audience before when an instrumental piece is being done, and you realize on the second or third time round, oh, they're gonna play it exactly the same
Yeah.
with as many repeats as there are verses. Oh my goodness, you know what I mean?
Yes,
So
exactly.
that's a challenge, and I think you nailed it. It's really a lot of fun.
Ah, thank you.
Actually, maybe if we hop ahead in the track list too, there's another one. Well, I like all of these a lot, Cedar, but there's one that's a couple, but one that stood out particularly to me is like I really want to try this, like in a like my wife and I like to sit down and play music in the evenings when we can, and it's usually, at least lately, it's usually guitar and flute, and we're looking at Irish music almost all the time. And so, and you know, this time of year, you wanna be a little cheerful, little holiday, you know. And one that stood out as like, oh yeah, this feels like an Irish trad kind of thing, but it's Christmas songs. Was the track 7 that's got "I Saw Three Ships," "Bring a
Oh
Torch."
yes.
Yeah, that one just felt like it felt very maybe this is just me, but it felt like a strong example of that, like, this can be done, like, could do this at a
Oh
session, you know?
yeah, and those are all treated as jigs, so that
Mm,
would definitely make sense there because the jig is such an iconic um,
mm,
tune type in traditional Irish music, and yeah, this track kind of just lilts along, and I saw 3 ships come sailing in is definitely one of my favorite Christmas melodies, even though it's very short. Like it's
yeah.
basically just an A part over and over
That's
again.
right, yeah.
Yeah, and that's part of the challenge as well. Is like I didn't want to hang around it too long,
Uh-huh.
so then I kind of took you on a journey by going to the other 2 tunes that are kind of similar as well, changing the keys, and then returning to I Saw 3 ships come sailing in, but in A this time. So kind of yeah, bringing you on this little journey throughout those tunes. So yeah, it's a fun
Mm.
set as well.
Yeah, and you know this track too. I don't want you to feel like you have to give away your secrets, Cedar. So don't say more than you have to. But this one, there's something in it that at least for me personally, I think of this as a Cedarism because it's something that I've heard on like your other albums as well. and I maybe I'll do a bad job describing it, but if you know what I'm talking about, I'd love to hear about how you build this, where there'll be the melody going on, it's happening, right? And then almost like from the wings of the stage, unexpectedly, but at just the right time, um, other whistles like hop in and do like a little chord. It feels to me listening to it, it feels like there's like six more whistles all of a sudden like popping in and saying hello, hello, and then they disappear again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a really
Yeah.
cool thing. I like it a lot. It's a
Uh,
lot of fun, especially on headphones. But like how many voices are in there? Because it's such a warm, full kind of chord that like I wouldn't be able to pick apart. Like, oh, that's three voices, that's six voices, or what? You know.
mm,
It,
yeah.
it just feels like the whole cast is all of a sudden there, and then they're gone again in this really fun way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, so that one off the top of my head, track 7, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so, I'm not remembering how many whistles are
Oh,
in
that's
it,
okay.
like, right off the bat.
Yeah.
Um, I do actually have the session files somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, but, yeah, so I definitely love harmonies, and I love layers and, different octaves as well, so
Mm.
low and high whistles working together, and even, like, 3rd octave stuff as well, which rarely shows up, but I'm doing that more, these days in live performances, playing in the 3rd octave just to be heard because 'cause I'm unamplified sometimes.
Oh, sure.
Um, but for this set, yeah, definitely bringing some other whistles in, um, to kinda harmonize with the melody,
Hmm.
and I almost treat them as backing vocals sometimes. That's kinda how I feel about them.
Yeah, I
And
got you.
yeah, and sometimes, yeah, just to kinda pop them in here or there, or sometimes they're more supportive, but the harmonies were very fun to figure out, on this track as well, and
Mm.
so, yeah, just love to kinda treat whistles as voices in a way and to fill up the sound and just make it very joyful and fun and, interesting because, yeah, for myself, I would want to kind of be like, "Ooh, wow, that's a cool element," whenever I'm listening to any music and any music from anybody, to just be surprised and, to enjoy all these cool elements, so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me, Cedar, because like I call this little like chord surprise a Cedarism, but like I feel like there's a lot of Cedarisms. Like
Oh, yeah.
I think I could recognize your music, not to be like, oh, I'm a detective, rather like you've got a distinctive way of playing, and I think that it'd be recognizable. Um,
Mm.
I mean, like, other people do cool stuff too, but like, well, on that was it the opening track? Is it? No, it's gonna be our last track. We'll talk about Carol the Bells later, but like some of the breathy play
Oh,
and
yes.
something that I think maybe we could call it like, um, melodic percussion is like a way,
Oh, yes.
you know what I mean? You do a
Totally.
lot of that. In fact, yeah, track 4, I think, has some really good examples. It pops up in a lot of tracks, but where you use your whistles to make percussion, like really lively percussion, but it's also participating in the melody or harmony, so it's like doing double
Mhm.
duty.
Yep.
Um,
For sure.
Maybe we'll play a little bit of that one here too. That's the "Good Christian Men Rejoice, God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, and Joy to the World."
Yes.
So those
Yeah.
Cedarisms, how
Yeah.
how how do you come up with these? Do you feel like your library of sounds that you can get out of a whistle is still growing, or is it kind of like you spent a lot of years just playing around, finding different noises, and now you have a great library to access, to be like, "Here, this will be a fun sound."
Yeah, so I think it's definitely like a combination of learning over the years what the instrument can do and what I can do with the instrument,
Mm,
and just totally messing around as well, um, and like coming up with extended techniques, especially for my album harmonies when we talked about like making bird sounds out of the
yes.
head and all of that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I remember like taping whistles in weird areas and just like tapping on them and doing anything I could to
Mm,
get weird sounds out of them. And a part of who I am, which I've been learning this recently, but I mean, it's kind of always been there, is the percussive playing.
yeah.
Uh, so definitely, um, yeah, adding percussive elements, mostly just doing that like with my tongue and stuff like that, making it kind of like a beatbox
Yeah.
technique. And so that definitely shows up in this album and Decade as well. But
Mhm.
yeah, finding those sounds, it took some time to kind of discover them. And I learned about these techniques through other musicians. They weren't just whistle players, but also like flute players and
Mm.
yeah, just drawing from beatboxing techniques and stuff like that. Just kind of being attracted to whatever is interesting to me. And yeah, I'm still definitely learning more for sure about like what sounds I can make. And I just had this thought yesterday, like, wow, a year ago I didn't think about this rhythmic variation that I wish I actually put on the album.
Mm.
For Ding Dong Merrily on High, I've been performing that live with some people. And yeah, I just came up with this cool rhythmic variation. Like, darn, I should have put that on the album.
Ah, yeah.
um,
That's
but
super
yeah, like,
interesting, though. I feel like
yeah,
sometimes, like, I understand that kind of, like, "Ah, shoot," but, like, I feel like what I appreciate about artists is that they're willing to put down some version of their thing and put it out there because I think, and not to pass judgment here or anything, right? But I suspect that, like, if you're air quotes doing it right, then any album is just gonna be a snapshot of, like, where you are as a musician, where that track is for you, where that melody is for you, you know? Just
yeah,
a snapshot of that in time. It's been developing, you got that snapshot for the album, and it's gonna keep developing after that, you know?
exactly. Yes.
I
Yeah.
'cause I can imagine it might hold a person back if they thought to themselves, "I
Mm,
can't put this out until I'm absolutely sure that it's exactly in its final form." You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. And like, I've definitely struggled with like being a perfectionist, and that's a big goal that I have
Mm,
for here, and especially right now, actually, the last month or so, I'm like, I need to let go of the death grip of control is what I call it.
mm.
And I actually met with a producer and he said, "Yeah, it seems like you do kind of put a lot of effort into trying to make things perfect, and there's nothing wrong with that, but like it would be a good exercise to kind of just capture something in the moment." And that is when the most magic happens
Mm,
in music. And like, I've been playing with these incredible musicians this year and like doing full improv sessions or like interludes of improv.
mm.
And that's when the best stuff happens. And a lot of the times it doesn't get captured. And then I don't post it. And I'm like, oh, but that's my kind of best stuff.
Hmm.
So for next year, I have some music that has been recorded and will be recorded that is a lot more captured in the moment, kind of a thing,
Gotcha.
instead of like fine-tuned, highly polished, which I love that as well.
Mhm.
But like, I'm becoming more drawn to raw, stripped back performances as well, and
Mm.
kind of fusion elements as well, and just making music more magical and um yeah, just created in the moment rather than just doing all this work in post, which is fine as well. But yeah, that kind of thing. So
Well,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. I'm excited to see what you put out for sure. I mean, but though, like at the same time, I'm glad that you love what you've done so far because I think it's really cool, Cedar. Like the fullness of these mixes with the like you were talking before about like the multiple layers, and multiple octaves, things coming in from one side and soaring to the other side, or popping in. That all of
Yes.
that it's a really fun experience. Like I've told everybody I've talked to about your albums, like it's cool no matter how you listen to it, but do try it on headphones. Like
Oh god,
th-
yes.
there's
I see
like a
the
lot of work went into making this like a stereo experience, you know?
Yes, and that's one of my favorite parts about mixing because I mixed this album as well,
Mm,
is creating this really cool sonic space when you feel like you're in the music because I love immersion.
hmm
And my college thesis project was about immersion in audio and combining it with visuals and treating the audio in kind of as a 3D object. It was like 3D audio.
hmm.
So it was, yeah, it felt like you were inside of that moment. And so for
Yeah.
this album, I wanted the same kind of thing, even though it's not 3D audio, but to be like in that Whistle Wonderland world.
Well, that I mean, I'm grinning ear to ear here, Cedar, because like that makes so much sense. That's absolutely the feel that comes through. So I'm happy for you that that came through and the
Yeah.
intention is clear. I feel like Wexford Carol is actually a really strong example of that. Maybe partly
Yes.
because it's like a little bit toned down in terms of how fast it goes. Maybe it allows
Yep.
you to focus a little bit more on like what is going on. But like there are well, I'll get excited about any kind of drone, of course, to no matter what, just
Yes.
with my
For
passion for
sure.
bagpiping. But
Mhm.
so you've got kind of a drone going on in there, and that kind of lays down this like ground, and then we've got some vocals that sneak in and out here and there. And definitely some of these whistle voices, like there will be the main melody going, and then there will be like a harmonic note that starts on one side of the headphones and travels. Like it feels
Yes.
like I'm in a 3D space.
Yeah, so this one I did actually put my own vocals on it,
Mm,
and singing is something I'm struggling with, but
mm,
I haven't really exercised my voice in that way much. So next year, I would love to be able to sing more because I'm starting to write my own songs. And yeah, that'd be a fun thing to do. But
mm,
this was a very subtle example of that. So I put a little bit of like ethereal, kind of magical vocal elements in it that kind of come and go. And the whole idea for the Wexford Carol track was to make it feel like you were in this icy, snowy scape and that
mm.
you were immersed in. in that kind of scene and to visualize it as you were hearing it. And I love drones as well, and just making this cool sound with the drone and adding these elements and kind of distant whistles as well, and
Hmm.
that sort of thing. And then starting it as an air, basically. So without
Yeah.
a tempo, and kind of introducing the melody in that way. And that is how I treat it more like a traditional tune is, yeah, kind of like, oh, how about we make this an air? And then when the rhythm comes in, that's when a bit more energy and drama are added. And my boyfriend Mark, he put some beautiful classical guitar onto that as
Yeah,
well.
the guitar was awesome.
Yes.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that was one of my favorite. It's a longer track, and
Oh yeah.
by the time I was at, like, I don't know, it was probably minute 3 or 4, I was tapping my toe and, like, bobbing my head along with it, and I paused and went, "Wait a sec. When did I start doing this?" That I either I didn't notice it or it was an impressively subtle build to shift from the
Mhm.
air into the more rhythmic thing. Because like, I remembered that it had started out as an air, you know what I mean? Like,
For
when did
sure.
this get when did this get a groove? Um,
Yeah, it did kind of show up out of nowhere because I think I
yeah.
played the melody. Was it once maybe? It's been a while actually since I've heard the whole thing.
Oh, no sweat. Yeah, of
But
course.
like, yeah, definitely was playing that one melody, kind of, yeah, no tempo, and then just out of nowhere it started playing. And then I think the rhythm joined in a little bit after the main whistle set that tempo, and I was playing a low
Mm,
C, which was an intentional choice for this because I love different keys, and a lot of
mhm.
these tracks are in standard keys on, high and low D whistles. And then I was like,
Sure.
ooh, a nice low C would kind of bring it into a lower pitch. And so that would
Mhm.
kind of, yeah, change that, break that flow of standard keys pretty often.
Mm.
Uh, Low whistles are just stunning. And I love to kind of, yeah, make them sound more percussive and textural. And I think I put some kind of breathy sounds in there by, yeah,
Yeah.
kind of blowing through the whistle in different ways. So the breath of cold is kind of what I wanted to put into that track.
Mm.
But yeah, it was a fun one to work on for sure,
I'll tell
and
you what,
especially the
especially the harmonies?
yes, yeah, it was really fun to come up with
Mm.
the harmonies. Almost like them more than the melody.
This is one of my favorite parts about doing this whole project because I can enjoy a piece of art, but then hearing the artist talk about how it comes about, and also, like, what they were thinking, as they put it together, it's
Mhm.
just a lot of
Yeah.
fun. It's a lot of fun to hit
Oh
that
yeah.
peak there.
For sure.
Well, speaking of Mark's guitar playing, another one where there's some really lovely guitar going on, which I think must have been Mark, is "Oh Holy Night."
Yes. Yep. That was him. Oh my
And
gosh,
this
it's
one
so beautiful.
is so good, absolutely, yeah. And I also like a lot of these tracks, like we've talked about so far, are like extremely lively, and they have like a lot of layers and a lot of cool stuff going on. This one is sparse by comparison. Still beautiful, of course, but there's even silence in this track. speaking of things that could be hard to convince yourself to do, I don't, maybe it's just me, Cedar. So if this is just my insecurity, feel free to tell me that you don't experience it. It's just me. But I'm just imagining that, like, if you got to a point in a track where there was silence, for me, either at the microphone or at the mixing board, I would be like, well, what am I going to put in here? I've got to put something here, like I can't just
Exactly.
let it be quiet. But you did, and it works so well. How do you get over that?
Ah, thank you. Yeah, so this was actually a pretty interesting thing because in airs, there's a little bit of silence, but this is
Mm,
definitely exaggerated for sure. And
mm-hmm,
that was a suggestion more so from Mark because he has a classical background. And in classical music, there are longer pauses. There can be,
mm,
especially between movements. But even within a piece, like sometimes you're listening to a classical piece and the dynamic is so quiet that you're like, are they even playing? And sometimes they're not. And
mm.
so basically, I had these phrases and I would chop them up and actually move them around to give them more space. And
Oh,
part of the
yeah.
reason was to let the reverb tail just kind of
Mm,
take off and treat that reverb as the echo of the voice of the whistle or the flute.
mm.
Where oh Holy Night is the whistle actually, sorry. But yeah, kind of let
Yeah,
that
gotcha.
breath kind of travel a little bit and
Mm-hmm,
to yeah, give these moments of pause and reflection kind of and just to take it in at its own pace. And so it's kind of like,
mm,
if a singer or even a poet would kind of deliver a line and then there would be a second to kind of think about it. It's kind of like that. But
yeah.
even then, when I was kind of arranging this and Mark was giving suggestions, I was like, wow, that is quite a bit of silence, but I guess that's okay. Because I don't think there's quite enough silence in music these days, especially. And there is definitely this desire for us to fill the space all the time. But
Mm-hmm,
yeah, to kind of let it to breathe, let it breathe a little bit is
mm-hmm.
definitely something that could happen as well. So yeah.
Well, it's a really cool feature. Yeah, I've wondered before if bagpipes especially have like messed me up in this regard because I feel like anything I'm playing, I feel like once I start, just got to keep going. You can't stop,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool to see silence used as a tool, and I feel like that is a rare thing.
Mm,
That was very cool. Yeah, I'm glad he
thank
suggested.
you.
And I think he did it really tastefully. I think it's really good.
Thank you.
I have thought before, Cedar, that we could have a something that we might call the jingle bell test, where if an artist can make jingle bells interesting, then they're in a special club. You know what I mean? Um, and you went for it. You made a stab at the jingle bell test, even if you didn't realize that was a thing. It's not a thing. But I feel like it'd be funny if it was a thing. Because I've heard a few artists before do things with jingle bells, and I've gone like, oh, that was actually pretty cool. Like I usually kind of make jokes about jingle bells, but that was awesome. And you're in the club, Cedar. The track 10 is very cool.
That was another challenge is like classical pieces, especially, the Nutcracker suite that has massive movements and so many different changing elements. and they go on for a while. So I'm like, this is just an
Mm.
idea to just kind of take a little sample that's very recognizable and just play around with that and then move on to something else. So that's
Yeah.
basically it for here, and treated that as a polka and kind of just went
Oh, it's a
crazy with.
polka. I see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a bit more of that.
That's just me not knowing genres very well. I enjoyed it a lot. I just didn't realize it. Yeah, that makes sense. It's a polka.
Yeah, so that went from the "We Wish You a Merry Christmas" is a waltz, so I kept that waltz feel, but of course, put variations all over the place and danced around with it. You basically, like,
Hmm.
just so many different little elements in there, and went straight
I
there
love that you
into.
said you danced around with it, though. Of course, it's a waltz. Of course,
Yeah,
you danced around with it.
yeah. Both actually physically, because I'm learning some Sean Nose dance, and I actually performed a
Oh,
bit
that's
of
great.
dancing alongside with it, and then also my fingers are dancing over the whistle a lot.
Yeah,
So both ways.
perfect.
Um, but yeah, so definitely going straight from the waltz straight into the polka and just upping the energy because I can't help myself. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, I can't stay slow forever, and then just full on party mode basically. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
uh, for sure is like oons, 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 kind of that polka feel.
Yeah, that's
Which,
true. Yeah.
yeah, definitely have noticed like in gigs that people love polkas, even though they don't listen to trad. And I'm like, oh, well, because it's that kind of dance vibe, that kind of oons, oons,
Yeah.
oons. People really like that kind of rhythm
That's
and
good.
beat. And I'm like, oh, that's probably why they like polkas because it's very danceable. So yeah, that was an interesting thing, but definitely wanted to take that little segment from the Nutcracker and play around with that. And then Jingle Bells is a polka, and then Auld Lang Syne is not your typical polka. I
N
just, because
No.
it's the legato, I was like, I'll just
Yeah,
keep it.
it's usually a
uh,
slow song, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So this was dun 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 dun, and then I have this
Yeah.
whistle just ripping a solo at the end, and it kind of fades out, which I very rarely do fade outs. But I was like, I think this is
I
a
wanted to ask you
a
about
good
that too, yeah, why'd you decide.
because this melody is very repetitive as well, and I guess you can say it's an A part as well. Like there's not a B part, so it's kind of that one melody that goes on forever and ever, and I think people usually sing this at the end of the year, maybe. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the album. I hope you enjoyed, and then you fade off into the distance, kind of a thing. Because I didn't really know how to end it, and I was like, yeah, fade out. It'd be fun, especially when you put a little solo at the end, and it kind of forces you to keep listening until there's nothing left. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's where, like, I nothing against an artist who decides to do a fade out where it's, like, just the chord progression in drums as it, like, chills out, like, that's okay too, but, there's an artist called Tom Waits who I really admire a lot, who sometimes does things like this where he'll bring in a whole new instrument or just, like, play an instrument in an entirely different way, only right at the end of the track, and you only get, like,
yeah.
sometimes not even 4 bars of it. Like, you get this tiny little taste, you
Oh
go, "Whoa,
wow.
that's cool," and before you can even want it, it's gone, you know? And I thought exactly that same thing as I was listening to the fade out. I'm like, "Oh, here it goes, it's fading out," and then something new happens. It gives it this strong feeling of, like, the party is still going on, like, it's gonna keep
Yeah,
going.
exactly. That yep.
I'll be home for Christmas. If you were gonna come to me and be like, "Oh, Cedar's doing a Celtic Christmas album. What songs do you think she'll use?" Just never would have got on my list. I never would have guessed it, but it fits really well. It's lovely.
I think
Why did that one come up? Is that a personal favorite, or had you been? Was it a surprise to you that it fit? What do you think?
yeah. So basically, that "I'll Be Home for Christmas" was a last minute decision to put that. piece on the album. It was
Mm.
very last minute. I was like, I think it needs like one more little thing. And it just totally popped in my head one day. I'm like, I could treat that as an air. So
Yeah.
that happened because I think the melody is just beautiful, especially with the chord progressions. But of course, there are no chord progressions heard here because it's completely solo
Mhm.
until the second whistle comes in, gives a hint at what chords could be there. And that's an
Yeah.
alto F whistle, which I loved. And that was another decision was like, oh, there aren't many keys other than your standard keys. So I wanted to kind of, yeah, add some variety in that sense. And yeah, to have just the voice of the alto F in there would be nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, just treating it as an air. So kind of referencing the original and how the phrases were laid out in the original, but also just taking it and putting it into a traditional context. And
Mm.
then also, once again, having to chop up those phrases and stretch them out a little bit longer and add even more space between the phrases. So if I were to perform
Mm.
it live, I would kind of rush the silence in a way and just kind of
Mm.
go through it a bit faster, which I'm more used to that because airs aren't they don't have tons of silence in them, but I'm
Mhm.
fine with adding a little bit of extra silence and then yeah, putting those little harmony lines in as well, just as splashes. I call them splashes of harmony because I
Mm.
don't want to overdo it. I mean, sometimes I probably do, but for this piece, I was like, yeah, just a little bit here and there, just a couple notes or even one note, and to kind of give the melody a bit more focus, but then just
Mm.
to support it a little bit here and there, with the
Yeah.
harmony. Yeah.
In the about section on Bandcamp, um, what you wrote up for this album, there's a part where you say some of these tunes are arranged in sets, while other melodies stand alone to demonstrate the beauty and liveliness of their melodies. Um, I
Mhm.
I guess maybe liveliness isn't the word to attach to this one in particular, being kind of a slower one, but it stands out to me as like, oh, this might be one of the several that was in mind as far as like it's
Yeah.
pretty much standing alone, and it's just demonstrating
Oh,
the
yeah.
loveliness of that melody. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and, like, that's one thing that I surprise myself, about sometimes. I'm like, "Man, I can just really add a huge amount of stuff in one track, and then the other track would be completely stripped down." So there's, like,
Mm.
so much variation, and same with Decade, and yeah, the Harmonies album isn't as built up, of course, because that one's more like meditation,
Mm-hmm.
relax stuff, but still a few elements there. But yeah, definitely a ton of variation. So the standalone pieces, I really like just working with one melody sometimes, just one piece
Mm-hmm.
for my original compositions, which are in the works now. Like I've been composing for 10 years and haven't really put out my own music as much, but next year it's all about that, like performing it and recording it and all that. But I
Mm.
do have 10 of my own tunes that stand alone completely by themselves, basically, like no other tunes before or after, because I want to
Mm.
focus on getting the most out of them. And then for this album, it's kind of the same thing. Like for Silent Night, Oh Holy Night, Wexford Carol, I'll Be Home for Christmas, and Carol of the Bells, just to let them shine as they are and kind of in
Mm.
their altered state, they're because none of them are played exactly how people expect them to be played.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so I can be I do both things. So like, yeah, just absolutely filling up a set with tons of tunes and tons of ear candy, basically. And
Yeah.
then the other ones are treated, yeah, very differently, but still equally interesting. And that's my goal, at least.
Yeah. No, and I think you're achieving it, Cedar. Yeah, you mentioned Silent Night. Yeah, that's another one that similar to I'll Be Home for Christmas that like does a lot of letting the melody stand on its own, with some sort of minimal support. And
Mhm.
I'm curious with these like less ear candy kind of tracks. Do you find that they take less time. I mean, I would naturally assume that they take less time to put together, like, in the studio versus, like, a really complicated track with lots of layers and stuff like that. But then at the same time, I'm like, man, if it's only one thing, it's inviting you to focus on that one thing a whole lot. I wonder if it
Yeah.
ends up taking, just as much time and effort to make it come out right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like the fewer instruments you have, uh, definitely the more stripped back they are, but also the more focused you would be,
Mm,
listening to them because that's all that's there. And when I'm recording, and if I'm recording with someone else in the same room and there's bleed, it just requires me to be ultra focused
mm,
and do my best with that performance. But in a recording context, it's like, yeah, I'll just focus on this melody and treating it exactly how I want it to be treated, and to just be happy with whatever shows up and to change whatever needs to be changed. But yeah, it's very stripped back and exposed and vulnerable. But yeah, it did take some time to work on, but definitely not as much time as the tunes that are in a set,
hmm.
partially because the tunes with, well, sets with lots of tunes have a bunch of instruments involved and lots of layers. Like earlier, you asked how many um, layers were in the seventh track, and I
Yeah,
actually pulled the session, and there were 22 flute and whistle layers in that piece.
man.
Um, and there are more in other pieces, actually. But yeah,
Yeah,
like,
that's not even the big one, huh?
yeah. But yeah, for sure, like, the sets of tunes definitely have required more work and more time, but the single tunes require a decent amount of work, but in different ways, just kind of refining the sound and kind of balancing the relationship between the guitar and the whistle, or one whistle and another whistle, and all that. And one thing that
Mm,
I do that my boyfriend calls me out on often is I love bringing the harmonies up a lot and level and making them almost as loud as the actual whistle, but then
yeah.
to bring them down just a little bit, it makes them sound more like they're accompanying and not being the main thing. But yeah, I'm like, I never know where to draw the line for how loud harmonies should be either. So
Hmm.
yeah.
That's interesting though. That's another one of those interesting insights because I've often thought, Cedar, like just thought to myself, like, I wonder what all goes into making this feel so full. Like it feels very full. I think that that's the right word for it because it's not just the quantity of voices, because sometimes it's just two voices, but it still has a really full feeling. I wonder if that's a big part of the mix of, I didn't mean to use the word mix. That could be understood to mean the audio mix, which it actually, okay, so it's double applicable. I meant like cooking. When you mix something up and it's got a flavor, and this flavor here in this case is like fullness. Maybe that's a big part of it, is that the secondary and tertiary, etc., voices are right up there next to the melody, and so it's kind of like it's big in a way.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and it's, yeah, the way that the accompanying whistle or other instruments are played as well, that
Mm,
they could make this either illusion that it sounds really big, or it can just sound big because of the
hmm.
notes chosen, like um,
Oh,
whether they're holding like a fifth instead of a third or something like that, or just how
yeah.
layered and all of that. And but yeah, I love working with the sounds and making really full sounding tracks.
Yeah.
It's part of the full immersion thing as well. Um, but yeah, for music that I'm gonna release next year, hopefully in January, maybe February, it's a whole other world and whole other project. But that is literally only two instruments at the moment. But
Huh.
the more I come back to it, I'm like, ooh, maybe I can add this and add this. So there's like, yeah, like the more you add, it can become more full, but it's
Uh-huh.
already full enough with just the two instruments. And I won't spoil it now, but like even with just two instruments, there's a lot going on and there's a lot to focus on. You're like, wow, it's just two instruments and there's this much sound. So part of the decision would be what instrument you're pairing with the whistle.
Uh-huh.
And also the type of whistle. It's not your traditional kind of one that you think it is. It's going to be very, very different. But,
Oh, well, I'm very excited.
yeah, so choice of instruments for sure would impact that decision and how it's mixed and how it's arranged for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, speaking of choice of instruments, we've talked a lot about whistles, and I suppose probably flutes as well. But like, you play other stuff on this album, and I looked back at some of the other albums that you put out on Bandcamp, and I think I've seen you credited with some bouzouki playing on some of the other albums as well. But I think this might be the first time I've seen Balron show up as something that you put down in a recording. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
No, yeah, that's right.
Is that
Yeah.
right? So how's your instrument collection growth going? Like what have you acquired recently, and what's next on the horizon?
Yes, that's a great question. Because yeah, I'm from California originally, and I'm based in Dublin, Ireland, and that's where I am at the moment. Only for 6 more days before I actually go back to visit home for Christmas, so that would
Oh,
be really
nice.
nice. But my collection is split across the 2 places, so
Oh, really? You
I
can't
try.
take it all with you every time you travel,
Yeah,
huh?
exactly, yep. So I would love to bring some of those instruments over here, and just trying to make that happen logistically can be a little tricky. But over here, yeah, I've got my Baron. It's a Del Eccles Baron. It's absolutely beautiful. I
Mm,
uh, started learning Baron in 2016 from David Brewer, and then I kind of just have been playing it on and off since. And now I've actually had my first Baron gigs this year,
oh, very
and they're
cool.
very fun. But I definitely wanted to put that on this track and just bring some rhythmic drive to it and to reflect the tunes in the drum.
Mhm.
And since I know these melodies so well, I'm like, oh, how can I kind of reflect that with my bar I'm playing, with the pitch changing and rhythmic variation as well. But yeah, to refer back to your question about the collection, I have not even counted how many whistles I have,
Mm,
because some people give me whistles, and
I believe it.
yeah, and some of them I just have had for years and don't know if I should let go of them or not. And you know how it is. And then
Yeah.
yeah, we'll just ship you stuff and all that. But I don't have a bunch of space over here in Dublin for them, but hopefully someday. But I definitely have my main kind of quote workhorses of whistles in my whistle bag that I carry around with me everywhere.
Mhm.
And and then some that stay home, and then I swap them out depending on what gig I have, because I don't want to carry too much weight.
Yeah.
Got all sorts of unique instruments here, including the Teletoons whistles, which I absolutely love. And they have not really made an appearance yet, except incredibly subtly on Christmas Eve on this track. But it's like you can't even notice it. They're just like a little
Oh,
rhythmic touch.
really?
Yeah, it was just a
Oh.
tiny little flavor. the second part of your question, like, "Oh, what's on the horizon for
Yeah,
instruments?"
what do you have your sights set on?
Yeah, well, for sure, like, the last couple days, I've been super obsessed with the Hardanger fiddle. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Absolute stunning instrument, and listening to Queevy and O'Reilly quite a lot.
Mm,
And, because I kinda mess around with fiddle, but I'm probably gonna take it a little more seriously next year because I think I'm at a decent-ish place now that I have actually played in sessions where I'm comfortable playing with people who wouldn't give me the eye or anything, but
yeah.
I just love fiddle, but I'm like, "Wait, the Hardanger fiddle is even more emotional," and I've known about this instrument for years, but I've only recently just really been drawn to it
Mm.
because of, sympathetic strings.
Oh,
um,
yeah.
they're just so beautiful, so I'd love one of those, but I don't have the funds for it, so even just borrowing one would be cool, but I don't know who would let me, but
Well,
that's
hey,
definitely
let's put the word out now. If any
yeah.
listener to this podcast happens to have one sitting around, how about if one of those packages that shows up full of instruments for Cedar could be one of these fiddles? That'd be great, huh? Why not?
I would make lots of recordings, oh my gosh, it would be so cool. But yeah, that's definitely one, and then the con or the can, I've heard it pronounced a couple different ways. It's an absolutely incredible instrument. I think it's from Thailand, and it has bamboo pipes that go vertically straight up, and it has this just the
Oh,
coolest sound ever.
does
It's
it
a
have and
reed.
it has, like, reeds on it, right? Like little metal reeds?
Oh, no, but I know what you're talking about there as well. There are a lot of cool instruments that are quite similar, but it yeah, has vertical bamboo pipes that go up, and, it's related to a harmonica in a way because the reeds are inside, and they work in a
Mm.
similar way, and you can breathe in and out, and it'll still make the same pitch, and,
Oh.
uh, there are, like, 2 little handles on it, and a person can put the palms of their hands under those handles, and then they press the holes down above the handles.
Hmm.
It's pretty hard to explain actually,
Yeah,
but I think
the picture that's forming in my mind is definitely interesting.
yeah, I think it's either KAHN or KHAN. They are so beautiful and hypnotic to listen to, and I definitely want that one, and it's actually cheaper than a Hardanger fiddle, I'm not surprised, but getting one and getting it shipped over and safely is probably a challenge, but definitely on my
Yeah.
wish list, and I of course, me being the the tradict
Tragic,
that I
nice.
am,
Good.
I'm like, "There's got to be someone who plays Irish trad on this," and there is, but it's like a 17-year-old video, and the guy hasn't posted since,
Ah,
but he actually plays trad on the can, and it's such a beautiful sound. I think he played "The Bird in the Bush" on that, and
huh.
it's just flawless, like, he's exceptional, and I'm like, "Yep, that's what I wanna do." So,
Wow,
those
yeah.
couple instruments on my wish list at the moment, so
So, yeah, listeners know what to send you now. Well, that's really exciting stuff that's on the horizon, Cedar. I can't wait to hear it. As we're looking at, our one last track on the album here, it's, Carol of the Bells, which you mentioned, like, that you just focus on the one melody here, but this is by no means a simple arrangement. You know what I mean? Like this is a lot of fun. There's a lot of layers going on here and stuff. Um, with a track like this one, I'm curious about your process. And again, you don't have to give away the secrets if you don't want to. And maybe it's different for different tracks. But with this one in particular, like using this as an example, would you go into a studio, a recording space with like some ideas in mind and kind of lay down layer one and then listen back to it and then lay down layer two and kind of feel it out? Or do you write these things down? You know, like how clearly planned is this stuff before it becomes recorded? Or is the recording kind of a part of the figuring out what it's going to be process for you?
yeah, that's actually a great question, and it's pretty funny how, like, um, you've kind of pointed out what happened for this
Oh,
track.
well, there you go.
Yeah, like, I went into it's a recording pod in a public library, so basically, you can book this space for free, and it's I don't know how exactly big it is, but it's kind of a small space and it's fully
Mhm.
sound. There are microphones in there. Um, Even though for this one I barely used those nice mics and didn't realize how nice they were until I used them. But
Oh.
I that space and you book it for free. So I recorded this whole album for free, basically.
No way. You did like so was most of this all of this done in that little pod in a public library?
90% of it, yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, when just with a couple mics. So the main mic I used was
Wow.
$50. So I made it on an
Holy
absolute
moly.
budget. And then the rest is just mixing powers and plugins and stuff. Even though I don't have like the top of the line stuff, I love to work with what I have and just doing the best with kind of limitations, but limitations can be pretty empowering sometimes as well. And just wanted to make it sound the best that I could with the technology I had. And even though we're a year ahead now than when this album was made, I still haven't fully upgraded my system, but I do have access to another pod that you can also book for free that has even better microphones and more
Oh.
space to put more musicians in. So now I'm like super
Oh, yeah.
inspired to record more. But anyway, so yeah, this little space with one microphone. I sat there once and I just kind of had ideas in my head for this track for Carol of the Bells and kind of started just playing my own arrangement of it. Like I referred to the choral arrangements of it, but
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure there are differences because I did that dun 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 part of the melody for a long time
Mhm.
because I wanted to draw it out and then add effects and harmonies and stuff like that. But it kind of messed with that and da 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 kind of those lines. And yeah, like at first I did have a totally different version. Like it was my let's get this idea out kind of version.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
working with Mark has been so fun because he has a degree in music as well, and he comes from a more classical point of view, but also a non-traditional Irish point of view. So he has these
Mm.
really cool ideas that I wouldn't normally think of, and
Yeah.
some of them were arrangement ideas. And so once I took that home, I was like, what do I do here? Like it's a kind of simple melody and it only has 2 parts, but my whole goal was how can I make it interesting with just whistles and bar like nothing else. And
Yeah.
so working with him about talking about the arrangement of it evolved into what it is now. And
Mm.
starting off with the percussive elements was very fun. So those kind of opened the whole piece and which exposed the main melody. And I chose my Copeland low D because it's my heart, my voice, my essence. It's everything that I am
Mm.
put through an instrument, and it's basically priceless to me. So I was
Mm.
like, oh, I want this instrument to just sing everything that it can, like just sing out loud and to kind of just express itself in different ways because I'm expressing myself through the instrument, but I see the instrument as almost its own thing as well. So
Mm.
the Copeland kind of just took off with this, and then I added high D whistle elements and Irish flute as well, and then more layers and more layers and more layers until I add 40 layers of whistles
No
in this
way.
40 tracks in total, not all playing at the
Holy
same time.
moly.
Yeah, 40.
Still, my goodness.
Yeah. So between the effects, melody tracks, and harmony tracks, there wound up being 40 of them. So it just became this whole like experiment, but also this almost
Yeah.
orchestral because I treated them kind of as voices in a way, but yeah, just wanted it to end in this big dramatic, like, oh, kind of way.
Yeah. Well,
That's
and it
why I
does. I mean, this is another one that, like, in my notes I put in all bold. I was like, everybody has to listen to this on headphones. Like you've got to experience,
Yeah,
you got to climb in and experience this all the way. This is really cool.
thank you. Yeah, I panned some of them completely far left and completely far right, and then some of them in between
Hmm.
that, and some just straight on in the middle. So, and I think some of the elements might pan around, but yeah, it's definitely a whole immersion experience for sure. But it was a very fun piece to work on. It's my favorite one of the whole album.
Well, as a consumer of the art, I am excited to see everything that you're working on and whatever you'll cook up in the future too, Cedar. It's a lot of cool
Thank
stuff. And I also, before we forget, I want to give away a copy of this album. And so, if you don't mind, I'm going to do a quick dice roll, and we'll
Ah,
announce
cool.
the winner of the album. Let's see. We got an 18. That's too high. We don't have that many supporters. Let me roll again. 8. That's more like it. Let me see who is number 8. Carol. Thank you so much, Carol, for supporting the show. I'll get in touch with you and get you a copy of this album. And I just want to say, too, one more time, like one more plug. Everybody should get this album. And at least once, probably once you've done it, you'll want to do it a lot of times, but at least once, find the time to put on some decent headphones for it. It's so worth it. And we'll have links to where it can be had on Bandcamp in the show notes as well.
Great.
And I think, Cedar, that with that, I'll do a little bit of chopping up and moving around, but we'll be